Chuck Schumer is setting up a very important vote for tomorrow. Also, a stimulus package update and what Nancy Pelosi and others are now saying about the package. And progressives have introduced a new bill, and I'm interested to see what you have to say about it. And millions upon millions of people quit their job in the month of October. All of that plus more in this video, so let's get into it right away. But if you haven't done so yet, or if you happen to be new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video so I can keep you updated each and every day with all of this information that is changing very rapidly right now. I want to make sure that you're staying tuned with everything going on because realistically, we have no clue what may come out the rest of today, tomorrow, the rest of the week, next week, anytime going forward, as any person in Congress, any lawmaker, the president, anybody could come out and announce something that may impact all of us right here in the community. So I want to make sure that you're staying tuned with everything going on. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Subscribe right down below. It's totally free to do so, and let's get into this right away. All right, so let's quickly talk about the vote that is setting up for tomorrow, announced by Chuck Schumer, who is the leader in the Senate on the Democratic side. Now, Chuck Schumer yesterday evening announced after the House of Representatives passed through the two bills, the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, as well as the procedural vote, so that Democrats can move forward with a partisan vote on the debt ceiling. Shortly thereafter, Chuck Schumer was out announcing that he's going to be setting up the procedural vote on the debt ceiling tomorrow in the Senate, and this is going to be incredibly important. Now remember, this is just a procedural vote. In other words, it's basically like a practice vote to allow them to move forward with just the partisan votes to get just 50 votes in the Senate to actually raise the debt ceiling. So in order to get this vote passed through tomorrow, they actually do need 60 votes. So they're going to need 10 Republicans to actually vote for this in order to get it passed. However, according to Mitch McConnell, it sounds like this should be no problem at all. He thinks that they should easily be able to get the number of votes that they need and get this passed through with no problem. And then at some point, shortly thereafter, when Chuck Schumer decides to do so, he can bring the actual bill to the floor and actually get it passed through with just partisan support, so just Democratic support, to get the debt ceiling raised by a specific number. And as of right now, it looks like it's probably going to be about $2 trillion, raising the debt ceiling over $30 trillion. So we're dealing with some serious numbers here, right? So that should be coming down tomorrow. And once again, it's looking like, according to what people are saying, that they will be likely working throughout the weekend to make sure that everything is in order because they're running out of time as they get closer to their deadline of when they want the stimulus package passed. And with that being said, let's talk about what Nancy Pelosi and others are now saying about the stimulus package. So Nancy Pelosi was out today reiterating that they want to get this package passed by Christmas. So previously it was just Chuck Schumer coming out saying, that was his self-imposed deadline. Well, now Nancy Pelosi is also echoing this same deadline. So she's also saying that we've got to have it passed by Christmas. Well, we also have a variety of other lawmakers out who are also saying we need to get this passed by Christmas and ultimately no later than the end of the year because everybody is eyeing all of these monthly checks that are going out as a result of the child tax credit payments. And they're saying if we don't get this bill passed by the end of the year, it's likely that these checks are going to stop and the January payments will not be going out. So again, these are the checks that impact about 38 million individuals and families who have kids under the age 17. So that's what's going on with these checks right now. So it looks like they want to continue out with these checks. Here's what's interesting about the checks, because we're probably all wondering, why are they so obsessed with these child tax credit checks? Here's why. They want them to continue on through the midterm elections next year. Well, even some lawmakers have come out and said, if we don't have these checks continued on through the midterm elections next year, it's not going to look good for Democrats, and they need to do this. Now again, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, I do not take sides with this. I simply tell you the information that I find while doing my research. Well, they kind of make a pretty good point though. Realistically, if these checks are going out now and all of a sudden they stop at the end of the year, people are going to remember that. Once again, when they go to the polls next year for the midterm elections, people are going to remember this, right? So they want to make sure that these checks are still rolling into bank accounts on a regular monthly basis, especially through the rest of this next year, as the midterm elections are going to be incredibly important for Democrats when it comes right down to it, right? So something else that they are looking at right now. But again, as I've said in previous videos, every time they talk about these monthly checks for the child tax credit payments, it always makes me wonder. I cannot help but think every single time, what about the seniors? What about the elderly? What about people with disabilities? What about low income? Why are they not also getting monthly checks? Does it make any sense to anybody? Well, it doesn't make sense to me. All right, let's talk about a new bill that progressives have introduced, and I'm curious to see what your opinion is on this bill. It is called the 32-Hour Work Week Act. Can you guess what that stands for? I'm guessing you can, because it lays it all out right there just in the name of the bill. Let me tell you one more time. The 32-Hour Work Week Act. Yep, you guessed it. They are introducing a 4-day work week bill. So rather than working 5 days, they are looking for a 4-day work week. So I'm curious to see, what do you have to say about this? Do you think this is a great idea that we should cut our work week down to 4 days and instead of 5? So basically you get maybe it's a 3-day weekend, but I guess you could have a day off in the middle of the week somewhere that's bracketed by work days. But I'm kind of curious what you have to say about this. Now, some other countries around the world have implemented something similar to this, and a lot of times they find that maybe that there's a little bit more productivity because people are getting more time off and they like their job a little bit more. Kind of curious. Let me know what you think down below. I know that a lot of us here in this community, probably have worked many, many years, right? I know a lot of you here in the community have been, you're probably receiving Social Security retirement or Social Security disability or SSI, things like this. So in other words, you've put in a lot of time working, years and years and years, right? So I'm kind of curious because I don't know. I'm just kind of curious what you have to say about that. If you think a 4-day work week would be a good idea and successful or not so much. Interestingly enough, we also got productivity numbers in the United States that were actually released earlier this morning. Well, check this out. Productivity is at a 60-year low. So yeah, productivity in the United States right now is at a 60-year low. At the same time, we're seeing this new bill being introduced for a 4-day work week. So I don't know, just kind of interesting how this is playing out. And now with all of that being said on top of it, we're also seeing some other information that was just released today as well, where 4.2 million people quit their jobs in the month of October. These are the latest numbers that were just released as of this morning, and kind of interesting how we're seeing this mass exodus of millions of people quitting their jobs every single month. So what's interesting about this is in October, it was 4.2 million people quit their jobs. In September, it was 4.4 million people quit their jobs. And in August, again, over 4 million people quit their jobs. So between 3 months, August, September, and October, we had over 12 million people, actually almost 13 million people quit their jobs in 3 months alone. That's unbelievable. These are record numbers, by the way. Also, with that being said, in the month of October, there were 11 million job openings. So do you see a trend? Here's what's interesting about it. I did some more digging on this and I found some reports talking about this. Well, I shouldn't really call them reports. I should call them more like articles. I found some articles talking about this. And basically what they're saying is, as a result of what happened in 2020 with the COVID and stuff like this, and then like the first half or so of 2021, people being, working at home or being laid off or, in some cases just being let go from their positions, their jobs. Basically what these articles are saying is that people are starting to see like, oh, there's a life outside of work. There's something outside of a job. And people are starting to realize that, what do I really want with my life? What do I really want to do rather than just working all the time? So what was interesting about this whole COVID thing, although it was a really bad situation, for the 2020 and 2021, according to these articles, it's sounding like people are maybe had a chance to kind of step back from their jobs for a minute and feel like, hey, there's something else out there other than just going to work all the time. So it's kind of interesting that this whole situation kind of gave people maybe a little bit of a glimpse outside of the four walls of a cubicle or whatever their job happens to be. And all of a sudden they're starting to say, maybe I want to go do my own thing. And there's actually seeing this surge of entrepreneurship right now, where there's been a surge of new small businesses started up over the last pretty much like year and a half since this whole COVID thing started. So kind of interesting transition that we've seen over the last, well, almost 2 years now since this whole COVID thing started back in early 2020. Wow, we're almost pushing 2 years already. This is kind of crazy, right? Like, who would have guessed it would have gone on for this long? And this new variant, who knows what's going to go on with this, but it does sound like, according to what I'm seeing, that this new Omicron variant is more transmissible, but yet maybe some of the symptoms are a little bit less severe. So it's still very early. Remember, this was just discovered in South Africa on Thanksgiving. So it's only been around for what, like 2 weeks now, since they've discovered it. So a lot of interesting and weird stuff going on out there, but this is what I've gathered for you so far this afternoon. Again, I'm going to get back to it because there's more out there, and I'll come back a little bit later with another update. But again, it's good that Congress is getting all this stuff through right now, because that just means they're going to open up the door on the stimulus package here. Yeah, I know, we've been waiting a very long time, right? Well, we're pretty much right on the cusp of them opening the door finally and starting to work on this a little bit more aggressively rather than just kind of passively along with all of these other bills that they were working on. So either way, I'll continue watching everything closely. I'll keep you posted with any further details, so make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video if you haven't done so yet, so you can stay tuned with everything going on, as it's going to get very, very interesting going forward here. I know that I've had a lot of other kind of weird updates lately, but at the same time, it's going to be way more stimulus focused here going forward as they start to open up this package, and they're going to be working on this thing kind of a lot. I mean, realistically, that is going to be their main focus here very, very soon when they open this up. That'll be pretty much their only focus going forward. So it's going to get really busy here. So again, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe down below, share the video with your friends, family, social media, or go back and check out any of the other nearly 2,000 videos right here on the channel. Thanks again. I appreciate it. I'll catch you later in the next video.